It's another Blue Jackets game day. It's another Metropolitan Division matchup, and it's the Blue Jackets trying to avenge the loss that they took last week against the New York Islanders, as the Islanders are in town again tonight. We're going to talk about all of that, plus a call-up / send-down of Emil Bemstrom and Carson Meyer. That's all coming up today on Locked on Blue Jackets.
Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to bring you news, stories, game recaps, game previews, trials, excitements, all of the above and more about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and also over on YouTube. So if you have not subscribed yet, then feel free to do so. It helps me out. It helps you out. Everybody wins. Before we get started as well, I do want to just let everyone know that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before, because BetOnline is where the game starts. And where this podcast is going to start is with a little bit of roster news. The Blue Jackets called Carson Meyer up from the Cleveland Monsters and sent Emil Bemstrom down. And my immediate question was, why though? And having slept on it and thought about it, my question remains, but why though? And this is not anything bad about Carson Meyer. Carson Meyer is having a phenomenal season so far for the Monsters. He's at 18 points in 15 games. I believe he's like 10th in the entire league in scoring or something like that. I'm a big Carson Meyer fan. I liked what he did with the Blue Jackets last season. Played 13 games with them. Only had 3 points, but that did include his first NHL goal. I imagine he'll probably go into the lineup tonight, depending on, I don't know, who's healthy and who's not. I imagine Brandon Gaunce will probably be back if Carson Meyer is not in the lineup. So we'll see what happens there. But the thing that confuses me, I'm not against the Carson Meyer being called up. I'm confused that Emil Bemstrom has just been sent down because I, frankly, thought he was doing a pretty good job this season. The problem is every Blue Jacket has been not very good. So, like, you look at, for example, his Corsi 4 percentage is 46.74, but so is, like, literally everyone else on the team. His goal scoring is up. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists, 4 points in 7 games, which is, you know, I don't have any issues with that. He's not playing a ton of ice time. He's shooting a little bit above his career average. But he's creating scoring chances. He's been on the ice for 9 goals for and 5 against. His expected goals for percent is 5.3, which is pretty decent, I think, considering all of last season, in which he only played 41 games, in fairness. He only managed 19.19. So Emil Bemstrom is doing a lot of the right things, and I think honestly, I think Emil Bemstrom is probably playing a little high in the lineup for most of his call-up. I liked him fine on that top line. I don't necessarily think that he should have been there like the entire time. Obviously, Gus Nyquist is there now, but it feels very much like Brad Larson doesn't really know what to do when he has a skilled player in his bottom 6. And so he's just going to send him down, call Carson Meyer up, who, this is not to say that Carson Meyer is not a talented player, but he plays a much better style suited to I assume he'll be on the third line, because God forbid we break up that fourth line that does functionally nothing every game. And it just sucks for Bemstrom because I think he worked really hard to get called up. played really well when he was up here, and now he's just kind of been sent back down for, honestly, like, there's no real reason that I can see. Like, the Blue Jackets are not going to suddenly become a much better team with Carson Meyer in the lineup than Emil Bemstrom. Is this about getting him more ice time because Brad refuses to play the kids? Who knows? I don't have ice time stats in front of me, but just so frustrating to see him play well and then just be like, well, bye. Especially when you look at how the Blue Jackets have been playing, and the things that Emil Bemstrom is good at are the things that the Blue Jackets need, honestly. But it is what it is. Maybe Carson Meyer will surprise everyone. I'm just frustrated for Bemstrom more than anything, I think. But moving on from that, we have to talk about the New York Islanders because they're in town again tonight after being in town. Or I think the Blue Jackets went to them last week, actually. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I've got to tell you about BetOnline. It's your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer, esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, and if you listen to Locked On Blue Jackets, I'm going to assume that you love a sports podcast. You can find those at BetOnline as well. They are the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. I know America is playing in the World Cup today for soccer, and they're playing against England. So maybe, I don't know, you want to put some money on America winning that game. Maybe you want to put some money on England winning that game. Who's to say? But you can do all of that on the website, betonline.net. You can use your laptop or your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline is where the game starts. So let's talk about the Islanders, who are doing, again, pretty well. They were doing pretty well the last time we checked in with Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders. They had a pretty decently hot start. They were the victors the last time these two teams played. They won 4-3 in overtime, and since then have racked up another 3 wins and 2 losses, and they're looking to push to 3. They beat Toronto, and then they beat Edmonton, 2 teams that are very above the Blue Jackets in the standings. Or not very, I guess. Edmonton's a 500 team at the minute. That's weird. But the Islanders are second in the Metro Division, only behind the New Jersey Devils, who just had their winning streak snapped by Toronto. And New Islanders are 13-8 to start the season. Pretty good. I would be happy if the Blue Jackets were 13-8 right now. I'd be ecstatic if the Blue Jackets were 13-8 right now. Players to watch. Matt Barzal has finally remembered how to score goals. He's got 7 points in his last 5 games, 2 goals, 5 assists. And JG Pajot continues to surprise everyone. He's got 4 goals in his last 5 games as well. The people that New York needed to step up have started to step up. The goaltending is good. Ilya Sorokin continues to impress. He's a .934 and a record of 9-5. Semyon Varlamov is 4-3 with a .914. Like, it's both pretty good. I think Ilya Sorokin is going from strength to strength. I don't know what it is about goalies in the New York area with the initials I and S, but it seems to be going well for them. And I would expect that the Blue Jackets will face Sorokin tonight. The Islanders have another game tomorrow against Philadelphia, who are, above the Blue Jackets in the standings. But I would be surprised. I would be surprised to see Varlamov. I would be super surprised, but I would expect to see Sorokin tonight. In terms of the Blue Jackets, I would expect to see Korpisalo. I don't think that they'll see Tarasov, although the Blue Jackets also have a back-to-back, I believe. I might be making that up. Yes, they are in Nashville tomorrow night. So Tarasov is going to be starting one of these games. He might start tonight, I think. But but I think probably the more likely game that he will start is the Preds. We're going to talk about the Preds game in tomorrow's episode. We're going to do some weekend episodes, but in terms of goaltending tonight, I think looking at how everything shakes out, I think Korpisalo tonight, he's lost his last 2 decisions, but has somehow managed to increase his save percentage. He's sitting at a 901 right now, which, again, for Jonas Korpisalo to be sitting at a 901, like, I'll take it. Tarasov is sitting at a 906. The goaltending, I think, is starting to turn around. It's just a shame that all of the defense has died, and I think that's, why the team continues to struggle. It'll be interesting tonight to see if the Blue Jackets end up playing against a goalie that's been playing very well, or if they manage to pull out a win against all odds. I'm not expecting the team to win tonight, I don't think, which is weird, because I spent a lot of this season being like, no, I think this is a winnable game. Like, the team better than the Blue Jackets? Yes, but the Blue Jackets, and they've been doing this for a long time. I've talked about this on the podcast before. They play to the level of their opponents. And sometimes that means a barn burner defense optional game against Montreal that ends 6-4. And sometimes that means like a 2-1 game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I don't think has happened this season. But, let me have my hypothetical here. For better or worse, the Blue Jackets play to the level of their opponent. So I'm expecting them to step up tonight. I'm expecting big goalie performance, especially if it does end up being Tarasov. It's going to be that Russian versus Russian matchup. He won the last one of those against Sergei Bobrovsky on Sunday. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. In a minute, we are going to get into a little bit more of the team stats and see who's doing well, who's not doing so well. That's coming up in just a minute on Locked On Blue Jackets. Okay, let's talk power play, because the Blue Jackets, the play-by-play said something very funny in the game against Montreal, which is that the Blue Jackets power play has climbed out of the basement. It's currently sitting at 13%, which, hey, double digits. We love that. It's also 31st in the league. So I don't know necessarily that it's crawled out of the basement. It's just crawled above the Ducks, which, the Ducks are in the sub basement right now. So that's not a super compelling proof that the power play is turning around, but they have scored some power play goals. They scored one against the Islanders last time, I believe. Let's see who scored in that game. Carson just scored a power play goal in that game. And it all went swimmingly, except in overtime. It's fine. So the Blue Jackets have a power play goal against the Islanders already this season. Can they pick up another one? Maybe. It hasn't scored in a couple of games, I don't believe. The Blue Jackets did not score a power play goal against the Canadiens, and they did not score a power play goal against Florida, I don't think. They scored. I am lying through my teeth. They scored 2 power play goals in Florida, so maybe that's all of their power play goals for the week. Who knows? But they've done it before. They can do it again. I've seen them do it. On the flip side, the penalty kill for the Islanders is sitting at 3rd in the league at 84.1%. So I'm not holding out a ton of hope for the Blue Jackets power play to suddenly be successful. But I think what could be interesting is the flip side of that. The Islanders are 16th on the power play. The Blue Jackets are 19th on the kill. So that, to me, feels like it could be a more kind of up in the air. Can the Islanders break through power play? Their power play, can they break through the penalty kill? Their power play is better than the Blue Jackets penalty kill, but it's a little bit closer than third in the league penalty kill versus 31st in the league power play. So who's to say? Face-off percentage continues to improve for the Blue Jackets. They're sitting 13th in the league right now at 51.1%. The Islanders just behind them at 16th in the league at 50.1%. Blue Jackets, like I said, the Blue Jackets have been doing well with face-offs recently. And I don't know whether that's because certain players have not been in the lineup and therefore have been unable to bring down the face-off percentage. I don't know if some guys are just figuring it out. I'm not sure what's going on, but for the most part, the Blue Jackets have been pretty good on the faceoffs, and I would expect that to continue tonight. Unfortunately, I would also expect to continue tonight the trend of being dead last in the league in goals against per game. The Blue Jackets are allowing 4.25 goals per game, and that's not great. They are scoring way less than that as well. They are scoring 2.95 goals per game. So they're basically losing every game 4-3, essentially, when you kind of balance it out. And that's, again, not super great. You always want your goals for to be more than your goals against. And if that's the wrong way around, then that's clearly a problem. For example, the Islanders are scoring 3.29 goals per game and allowing 2.62. So again, essentially scoring about 3/4 of a goal more per game. I know that you can't score 3/4 of a goal, but let me have my math here. If the Blue Jackets want to do something about where they are in the standings, like that's what they've got to do. Is they've got to either start allowing fewer goals or start scoring more. And honestly, looking at the Blue Jackets defense right now, and looking at the Blue Jackets offense, like I think their option might be that they just have to outscore their opponents. And this is something I talked about a little bit in the last episode with I did with Gilman, actually. The Blue Jackets have to do that Edmonton Oilers style hockey of just outscore their opponent. You know, they have Johnny Gaudreau. They don't have Patrick Laine at the minute, but if he's back and he's healthy, like he could be a 40-goal scorer. The Blue Jackets have the tools to outscore their opponents, and it's unfortunate that they are not doing that at the minute. I don't know what their on-ice shooting percentage is at the minute, but they are currently shooting at 9%, which is, I think, 9th or 10th in the league, which is higher than I thought. Unfortunately, their save percentage is not that. They have the worst save percentage in the league, worse than the Sharks, worse than the Canadiens. So that's where the Blue Jackets are right now. Extremely unlucky. Their PDO, by the way, is 0.981. So I would expect the save percentage to come up a little bit. I would expect the shooting percentage to drop maybe a little bit, but not as much as I would expect the save percentage to rise. So maybe they can figure it out. Maybe they can find a way to flip those stats. Maybe they can find a way to get the win tonight. Predictions. Honestly, I'm going to predict that the Islanders win. I think it's going to be a 4-3 victory for the Islanders. I don't think it's going to be an overtime this time. But in terms of opening the scoring, my money is going to be on Boone Jenner. He's pretty hot right now. He loves to score against Metropolitan Division teams. He's leading the team in scoring. So I think he's going to open the scoring for the Blue Jackets tonight. And that's all I've got for today. Tomorrow we'll break down tonight's game. We'll check in with the Predators before tomorrow night's game. And I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the podcast at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. And until tomorrow. Oh, before I sign off, thank you for making this your first listen of the day every day. Super, super, super appreciate it. I didn't mention it in yesterday's episode, but, you know, I'm not American, but I am thankful for all of you watchers, listeners, subscribers, commenters, people who follow me on Twitter as I just talk about dumb stuff. I appreciate all of you, and I'm thankful for all of you on this post-Thanksgiving day. So, yeah, thank you for making it your first listen of the day. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Make your second listen of the day Locked On Sports Today. They've got the biggest stories. They've got the biggest guests. They've got the biggest takes. You can find Locked On Sports Today wherever you get Locked On Blue Jackets, all podcast platforms, and also over on YouTube, and I believe on the Odyssey app as well. So make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports Today. Until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.